Hello everyone, I am Masih Alinejad and this is The World According to Masih, the podcast where we explore global events through unfiltered conversations with outstanding thinkers and change makers. Today, my guest is Ambassador Mark Wallace, a former US diplomat, lawyer, and founder of United Against Nuclear Iran. I believe he meant Nuclear Islamic Republic. He has deep experience in international affairs, national security, and combating terrorism. Ambassador Wallace brings sharp insight and global perspective. And as an advisor to the presidential campaigns of George W. Bush and Jeb Bush, he has been in the rooms where big decisions happen. Let's dive in.
If anybody should have a podcast, I mean, it's long overdue. Masih needed a podcast, so this is perfect for you. I don't think I've ever said it publicly. I think we have to care about other people. The greatness of America is caring about other people and seeing the greatness of other people rise.
They sanctioned you. They designated your own organization as a terrorist organization. Is it a badge of honor or?
Well, I mean, Masih, you should appreciate this. I think we were the first ones to be designated terrorists because they got into this terrorist designation. Now they just try to kill people or kidnap them or assassinate them. I don't need to tell you this because you've been the bravest of the brave.
No, honestly, I want to because look, yeah, I survived 3 assassination plots.
It's pretty good.
And
we have security.
What's going on with the U.S. government and what's going on? Because this is not my question. A lot of people in the region want to know that, is there a coherent policy when it comes to Islamic Republic? Did you know that this is going to happen? You are very close to Americans, Israeli, Iran. It's rare that someone can be close to all the countries that involved in this bombing on nuclear sites. Be honest with me. That's my first question. Did you know that the US going to enter the war between the Islamic Republic and Israel?
I had, first of all, it's so great to be with you. I had to stop for a second because I don't know how I got into this hot seat and this timing right now. I mean, I think it's some sort of Persian jiu-jitsu that you worked here because it's
you're an ally for Iranians, and that's why I thought this is the moment that I have to get your insight, your thoughts on what's going on in Iran, because we both care about civilians, we both care about people, we both know that this is a crucial moment, but at the same time, you kept an eye on nuclear sites and nuclear activities of the Islamic Republic. You were very close to many political figures in America. You're very close to the Israeli government. That's why I think it is important to know what's going on. I want to hear.
Well, first of all, it is really about, there are common bonds that unite the Iranian people, the Israeli people, and the American people. American people are distracted. It's a very vast country, but there are real common bonds and the oppression of this regime. And we do care. I mean, it's rare when I'm in a room where I don't care more than everyone else in the room, but this is one occasion where I aspire to care and be as effective as you, Masih, because you've been a hero in this stuff. And I say it all the time because, I know you. We've known each other a long time. Look, I do think that this was a combination of opportunity and threat. Remember when the Grossi IAEA report came out that showed Iran was sprinting on the enrichment side, and then you had the tragedy of 10/7 and Israel reversing, effectively being surrounded on all sides, to having decisive victories over the most brutal terror groups that were all supported by Iran. It ultimately led to this moment. After 10/7, I'd never done this before. Remember, I'm the sanctions guy. I'm the maximum pressure guy.
Yeah, but sanctions didn't work. That's why the military strike happened.
You're never going to get me to say that. But the reason why I think sanctions worked is that when you looked at how weak Iran was, when you look how weak the Islamic Republic was, even on these strikes, after 10/7, we called for strikes on IRGC targets. In my opinion, the military targets that were responsible for 10/7 and what was happening in the region were inside of Iran, so the Islamic Republic's sites there. And that was the first time ever I'd done that. We had not called for military action. But look, we overthink this. I've given a lot. How many speeches have we? We've both given a lot of talks over the many years we've been doing this. And I think because of politics, we overvalue the moment. Some people overvalue diplomacy. Some people overvalue military action. Some people overvalue maximum pressure and economic or asymmetric warfare, cyber, commando raids and the like. A smart policy does all of them. And the reality is it's the combination of those policies and those activities that will be ultimately a decisive blow against, frankly, an enemy like the Islamic Republic regime, right? That regime is the enemy. And it was a combination of cyber. It was a combination of asymmetrical and maximum pressure. Maximum pressure cut off their ability to have the finances and the money after supporting their proxies to mount a capable defense. So it was all those elements combined, and the opportunity presented, sadly, because of the poor souls that were lost on 10/7, that the Israelis and the rhetoric and with Iran targeting Israel and thinking it was weak after 10/7, it was both opportunity and the danger of Iran's sprint to a nuclear weapon, because you couldn't do that if they had a nuclear weapon.
Mark, we've been hearing about Iran on the news for years and years and years. The only reason that I actually created my own podcast, honestly, I want to tell the rest of the world that there is a big difference between Iran and Islamic Republic. And I want to tell the rest of the world that they have to stop giving democratic titles to the leaders of the Islamic Republic. And you're really good at this. I know that very well. How come you know Iran, you get close to this? Is I see that when you talk about Iran, it's like very close to your heart.
I dedicated my career to it for a long time.
Why? Tell me about it.
Well, first of all, if anybody should have a podcast. I mean, it's long overdue. Like, Masih needed a podcast. So this is perfect for you in so many ways, because your opinions, your thought, your voice is a key element to this. But look, all roads, imagine if we had a democratic or friendly government that worked in Iran. I'm not here to choose the next government.
We will get there.
Yeah, we will get there, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But imagine that incredible population and all my incredible Persian friends and the like, and what that would do to that region. All roads of the hostility, the violence, really have led to Tehran and that regime now for a long time. So I think it will be transformational for the world. When you look at the Middle East and North Africa and Iran, Persia, there's a vast number of people that are educated, willing to rise up, and it's young, industrious, and capable. That would be the most dynamic growing region in the world. And the one element that's impeding that, Jews, Muslims working together, the one element that's impeding that is that Islamic Republic.
True. When we look at our history, there was no single war between the Jews and Iranians. The history, only like common cultures, only respect, but the Islamic Republic. So my question is very clear. Then why United Against Nuclear Iran, your organization, why do you believe that you're against nuclear Iran, or under Islamic Republic, Iran cannot have nuclear? This is something that I really want you to talk about it, then why you started this. I know you've done amazing job, but this is something a lot of Iranians want to know, and I want to know it as well. Like, you believe that under Islamic Republic, nuclear enrichment is a threat to the global security, to the region, or you are actually saying that no to nuclear Iran?
You're asking me to pull up the pant leg, if you will, on sort of the rationale from the earliest days of this. I'll do it. I haven't really said this publicly ever before. And maybe it's getting into the weeds too much. But when we saw the Islamic Republic as a problem, and we know this discussion, anybody watching this understands the why it's such an awful regime. We did something that was very transactional. And I'm going to say that for the first time. I don't think I've ever said it publicly. We made a list, and I'm not proud of this necessarily, but we made a list of all the reasons why people could view the Islamic Republic as bad. So they're pursuing nuclear weapons, they're oppressive people, intolerant to LGBTQ, human rights, all the vast range of issues. Because we wanted to understand what concerned people primarily in the West.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, Masi, it was disappointing to me because all the rhetoric, this is 20 years ago, all the rhetoric that the Americans, we become, the big misunderstanding about America is that we are an occupying country, that we're ready to go either oppress or to save. We're not. We're basically an isolationist people that rise up when we have to. But even at that time when there was rhetoric about supporting ODA, supporting regime change, whatever it was, those bad words,
Yeah.
human rights and the Iranian people only registered in the West 7th or 8th on a list of about 14 or 15 reasons it was bad. I didn't like that. I was disappointed in that because I think I care.
Yeah.
I really do. I have a complicated political background, but I come out of Republican politics, but I've always cared. I think we have to care about other people. The greatness of America is caring about other people and seeing the greatness of other people rise.
Correct.
That's fundamental to who we are. Sometimes that's lost in our political debate now. But I was surprised by that. But the one thing that was the motivator was the nuclear issue. And that was resonated with leadership, the regular people and the like. But look, as you know, you've seen what United Against Nuclear Iran has done. We pursue maximum pressure. We've talked about proxies. We've talked about human rights. We've talked about LGBTQ issues. We've done everything. But the reason why it was United Against Nuclear Iran is that the nuclear threat to the West and to the United States and its allies was the nuclear issue, and that resonated most with the people in conveying to them the importance of fighting the Islamic Republic.
Fighting the Islamic Republic. So that's why you're the most hated one among the political figures. They about their transnational repression tactics, going after their own opponents. But I read somewhere that actually they sanctioned you. They designated your own organization as a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
Is it a badge of honor or?
Well, I mean, Masi, you should appreciate this. I think we were the first ones to be designated terrorists because they got into this terrorist designation. Now they just try to kill people or kidnap them or assassinate them. I don't need to tell you this because you've been the bravest of the brave. But I think we have the unique designation of being an Iranian designated terrorist. I'm on the Russia list. I've been ISIS and Al-Qaeda fatwas. So I think I've got all of them. The Turks are after me. But
so you're more dangerous than me.
No, you really irritated them, Masi. They're really angry about you because you cut them to the quick.
No, honestly, I want to because look, yeah, I survived 3 assassination plots.
It's pretty good.
And
we have security.
I want to invite you to come September 17. I will face 3 of them.
Yeah,
which is not easy, and they will receive their sentence. I want to invite you to be with me.
Of course.
I know it's a serious matter. I have survived 3 assassination plots. I have to watch over my shoulder. I say that I have no fear, but I don't want them to kill me. I want to be alive and see them falling. That's why I really want to know how it feels to be the target of a terrorist regime in the West. I know your close friends experienced that. You yourself received death threats. Your family, like the American officials here, the United States of American soil, being the target of those calling you a terrorist.
Look, it's
how
hard.
It feels.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to come into a room and talk about the threats that I've received, and it's been reported that I've been a target of Iranian assassination and other attempts and to monitor me. But anybody, it's hard to be in the room with you because you are the poster child of the Iranian transnational oppression, they call it. I love the expression transnational oppression. What does that mean? It means they want to kill people on American soil that are Americans. Never in our time in the history of our republic have we tolerated a regime that's willing to come onto our soil and target our leaders and Americans. And it's not a huge group of us. It's been reported, you can see it out there, that have been targeted. I don't want to name them all, but some of our friends that have been in government, it's been reported, Secretary Pompeo, my friend Brian Hook, me, you, and others that have been out there, John Bolton, of course. And it's extraordinary at a time that President Trump, of course. I mean, when you look at the assassination attempts, I have to give the president some credit. He was willing, he truly gave the Iranians an opportunity to have a negotiated solution. I was surprised by that. I mean, remember, they did try to kill him, and that affected him dramatically, it's my understanding. Mm-hmm. He really was hoping for a negotiated solution, but he gave him a deadline.
But I really want to know, Mark, this is very important. We're talking about a regime challenging the U.S. government on U.S. soil. Is part of America okay with it?
I don't think any part of America, and to be clear, it's more outrage. It's outrageous, period, and it's a sign of American polity being disassociated from it and distracted. It's more outrageous that they're targeting you, in my opinion. It's one thing for a former American official.
I didn't kill Qasem Soleimani.
The highest role of the United States government, and I am a former U.S. ambassador, national security lawyer. The highest role of government is protecting its people. And that is the responsibility of government, first and foremost, when you break it down. And the fact that they've run these operations, now, let's be serious. They've all been unsuccessful to date, thank God, right? And we have to give enormous credit to the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, others. I mean, it's not popular to praise the FBI.
Let me do it. If it was
I want to do it before you.
Thank you. Because a lot of people criticize me, like when I say that if it was not the FBI, I would have been dead here in America.
I take great comfort in our American security services that look after us and look after you. I won't say who, but I've talked to. Those threats have always been discussed at the highest levels of government. Yes. I've heard that they're in the presidential daily brief, even at different times in different administrations regularly. So I think that those threats are a big deal. I think that we don't do a good enough job. I think it puts too big a burden on the FBI, in my opinion. The FBI is an investigative counterintelligence agency. They're not necessarily a security guard agency, and they're doing an incredible job keeping us safe. I think we ought to have a thoughtful discussion on Capitol Hill about funding a mechanism that if we're going to have transnational oppression, we better be very clear how we're going to fund it, protect it, and protect Americans.
I had to call you Ambassador Wallace.
No, you don't.
But because we share the bullets together, because I have so much respect, because you're my friend. But I want to tell you something. The FBI, that Americans, they have to know that I don't want to be protected for my own life. I want them to protect America.
Yeah.
I'm a proud American citizen.
Right.
And I want to dedicate my life to protect America from the terrorist regime. Why I'm asking you now? Why am I calling you Ambassador Wallace right now? Because you were the U.S. ambassador at the UN. You were part of the George W. Bush campaign, presidential campaign. You closely work with different political figures, including Jeb Bush, Senator McCain, and many others. And my question is very clear. How come during Cold War, there was a coherent policy toward Soviet Union? But when it comes to Islamic Republic, here we are. Clinton was very soft to Islamic Republic. And then George W. Bush. And then President Obama trying to get a deal from the Islamic Republic. President Trump, walk out from the nuclear deal. And then President Biden handing out billions of dollars to Islamic Republic. What's going on with the US government, and what's going on because this is not my question. A lot of people in the region want to know that. Is there a coherent policy when it comes to Islamic Republic?
Mas, we experience this in the diaspora, but I tell my friends in the region that there's one fact that is often overlooked. Democracy is a really messy business at times. And because we have gotten more and more tribal in our politics, we're Democrats and Republicans. Mm-hmm. We still have much more overlap between Democrats and Republicans than many governments in the world. That's would be a quite controversial thing to say right now. But we've got pulled apart. And generally, my friend David Axelrod once said that every president is a reaction to the next president.
It's like they undoing
right, whatever that president did, it has to be bad.
But during Soviet Union, there was no different whether they were Republican in power or Democrat.
There are many reasons for that. Redistricting, the rise of mass communication, social media, the polarization of politics that results from that. And that because of that polarization, we're less accepting of policies that have commonality between us. And that's a factor of our democracy. And that's not the best factor of our democracy. But I talk to a lot of people in the region, democracies and not democracies, and they're all frustrated because of the vacillations of the United States government. But that's just the nature of democracy. You know, look, Bibi has been there how many years? 13, 14 years now? Obviously, you have in the Gulf, you've had ruling families that have been there a long time. It's a lot easier to have a consistent policy and a consistent voice. And even they haven't had a consistent policy, at least publicly. Right? Because they're disappointed by American vacillation or wavering on policies. But that's the nature of democracy. It's ugly. Like we talk about, you and I have talked endlessly about the diaspora. Democracy hard. You know, representative views hard. Getting people in a room to sit down and agree with each other in this day and age when social media promotes criticism and hatred. You don't get more likes for praising somebody and being, you know, all lovey-dovey. You don't get more likes for that. The algorithms all promote controversy. That's one of the problems with our social media today.
So basically you're saying that because of democracy, so dictators in Islamic Republic, sometimes they can, you know, go to retreat. And here we cannot convince democracies to be like united, put their, like Republican and Democrats, put your difference, like just be united when it comes to end transnational repression, when it comes to end the Islamic Republic terror actions on U.S. soil. Basically, you're saying that democracy allowing them to target American citizens.
No, first of all, I think the transnational repression is a different issue. I think it's unbelievable that we've had assassins on U.S. soil that have tried to kill you and have reported to have been following others and doing things. That's unbelievable, wrong, and a strong Republican or Democratic president should send a message that if that's going to continue, that there would be decisive action taken against any regime that was doing that, the Islamic Republic. I do think that we have to recognize, and you know, this is hard for me to admit because obviously I work in foreign policy. Yeah. But foreign policy issues generally poll around 3 to 5% at best in any presidential campaign. You know, one of the reasons why you immediately checked me, put me in check for saying Islamic Republic versus Iran. Yeah. Do you know if I said Islamic Republic on CNN, that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily know which country I was talking about?
Not only that, Ambassador Wallace, now I'm putting you in a corner because I want to challenge the U.S. policies. Yeah. So. Not only that, you will be labeled as Islamophobic. You will be labeled as someone do not respect the culture of Islamic world because you're calling on, you know. So that's why I want to know that, because I know that you're all about unity.
I am.
You are all about you and your team, your amazing team.
Unity, people being able to talk to one another respectfully, and pushing a country forward and a people forward for the benefit of everyone, right?
I get that, and you did an amazing job. Don't get me wrong. When I'm challenging the U.S. policy, I'm not challenging you.
It's okay.
But I want to learn about it because I see that now the youth in the streets, university campus, everywhere, saying that, showing their sympathy toward Hamas, toward Osama bin Laden, towards dictators, Islamic Republic. You see that as well. I mean, next might be your children. So a lot of people criticized them, the youth in America, why they are showing sympathy with dictators and terrorists. Is there anything that you can challenge the US government and the policy and the educational system? Like, is there anything that we can find that this was wrong and that's how the youth shifted? Instead of like showing their sympathy with the girls in Afghanistan being kicked out from schools, instead of showing their sympathy and support to girls in Iran, like schoolgirls being gassed, and you've done an amazing job to echo their voices. But What is wrong here? You think this is just a bunch of youth and they like fantasize with terrorists? Or this is about the policy in America?
I think that it reflects the tribalism, the fighting between the parties. Look, I've been around long enough where we were very proud to support Afghan women going to girls going to school. That I remember Laura Bush very proudly as we were helping Afghan women rise up and go to school. And when we pulled out of Afghanistan and the way it was done and how it was done, we had 2,500 troops.
Disaster.
Horrible disaster. One of the
We should not be shy to say it was disaster.
I was going to say it even more in harsh terms. And American servicemen and women lost their lives in that pull. I think 14 were killed. But what about all the Afghan women and the people that were persecuted at that time because we made a political decision because it was politically convenient, right? And I think that that's reflects a broader problem. I remember when I was in government. This is how you know you're getting old when you say, "I remember when." I remember when I was in government that I would get lobbied quite aggressively, and I'll name some names. My friend Susan Rice, or my friend I don't know her as well, Samantha Power, would come in about Darfur and say to me when I was at, and your viewers probably don't remember Darfur, or many people don't, that we needed to do more. And there was a doctrine advocated by Samantha Power, who ended up being the ambassador of the UN. I respect her greatly. Called the responsibility to protect, that we as the United States, as the hegemon, had a duty, a responsibility to protect against genocide. I'm paraphrasing, it's more complicated than that. And that we needed to do more to go in and prevent genocide, prevent people from being, harmed. And I agreed. That wasn't popular. I agreed with that. But when Samantha and others came in the Obama administration, I think reflecting the isolationist ways of the United States, you saw the Syrian red line.
Yeah.
How long did that keep Assad into power? Granted, it laid the groundwork for Assad's ultimate failure, but how many people had to die because we didn't enforce our red line? Both parties are reflecting a isolationist tendency. And that's who America generally is. I don't think that's new. I think some of the rhetoric supporting these terror groups is absolutely outrageous. I think it reflects anti-Semitism. I think it's a deeper thing than that. I think you're seeing an anti-Semitism. Look, Jews, I work obviously in counter-extremism and anti-Semitism. For 80 years, since the liberation of Auschwitz and the camps, Jews have lived by the mantra of the great Elie Wiesel, and that was to never forget. We can never forget. Yeah. And the theory amongst Jews is we keep our head down, we work, we do good deeds, we repair the world, and that will be enough because it will show by never forgetting, how could you allow it to happen again? But Wiesel famously said in 1986 that sometimes we must interfere, we must do more. And I think that the rise of anti-Semitism has always been lurking as close as the house next door. And I think that the hatred and the willingness of people to support these groups and to be anti-Semitic is very close.
When I made a statement to condemn the brutal attack on innocent civilians, October 7, I thought that when it comes to condemning rape, we're all okay with it. We're all united. Again, the word united. Yeah. I lost a lot of my friends just because of issuing a statement on my social media. I lost many friends that I thought they were like my role models in America.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. And I tried to raise a question that, why? So, and I'm coming from a country where from the age of 7, I was told, brainwashed, that I had to burn the flag of Israel. The hatred from the age of 7, we were told that we have to shout death to Israel as loud as like the Tel Aviv would shake. So I see that now here in America.
Yeah, I think
kids are trying, take to the street and they hate America, they hate Israel.
Yeah. Thankfully, it's still a minority, a potent minority. It's been reflective of the campuses. Look, you're seeing all this, these really tough exchanges between academia, universities, and the Trump administration. I think that those discussions are frankly good. some people might not like the way the Trump administration is pursuing it with these academic institutions, but the hubris with which these institutions have acted for a long time is quite great. Do I want to see people that are doing good work lose their funding and to be terminated when they've had nothing? Not really. No, I don't. But at the same time, we have to revisit the way we indoctrinate and think in academia and allow hatred to persist. And I will tell you, there was serious anti-Semitism that lurked on these campuses for far too long.
You bought a house. You want to talk about it?
Sure.
Because many of my audience maybe have no knowledge about the house in Auschwitz.
We don't cross-pollinate too often.
Talk about it, because to me it was very unique when I heard the
story.
You
have to come, Masih, because it's very, everything that you've talked about is exemplified by this house. So at Auschwitz-Birkenau, there was a infamous commandant called Rudolf Höss. I don't even like saying his name. I've totally deluded myself that I would get away with never saying his name again, but the human interest factor of him has been far too overwhelming. He lived in this villa on the wall of Auschwitz with his wife and 3 children, with gardens, a pool, a greenhouse, sauna. Men like Joseph Mengele, Goebbels, Himmler would have cigars there. And literally the back windows overlook gas chamber number 1 and crematory number 1, and the ashes of people fell onto that garden where those children would play. And he was the man that orchestrated the final solution. He was the man that devised the industrial scale slaughter of the Jews. And there was a infamous movie now called The Zone of Interest that documented their life, this ordinary life with raising kids, being a good father. Literally on the wall, there was a tunnel underneath the wall in the backyard or a sink. He would rape women in this tunnel on the way to his office. Not Jews, because Jews were too impure to rape, but communists or Roma people. He would rape them. So that house had been out of public view for about 80 years in private hands, and we had worked very hard for many years to acquire that house because, frankly, neo-Nazis and other groups were trying to acquire it. So the first order was to prevent it from falling into bad hands. And the second one was we wanted to turn it into the house of fighting anti-Semitism and counter-extremism. And we were able to acquire it last year. We announced it and made it public on the 80th anniversary. My great friend Daniel Libeskind, the incredible architect, we're going to design a center there to fight anti-Semitism and extremism because it's the house next door. And Masih, what we've learned, because you've had to have many houses, is that evil and friends can lurk with equal measure in houses next door. You've had great neighbors, but you've had terrible people that have hunted you down. And anti-Semitism and that hatred can be as close as the house next door. So we think in our partnership with the Polish government, UNESCO, the Auschwitz-Birkenau Museum, that we're trying to fight that hatred, that extremism, that anti-Semitism at its core. And it's the same ideology that the regime promotes. And remember, the number 1 state sponsor of anti-Semitism and extremism is
Islamic Republic.
Right. When I'm on CNN, I say Iran, but yes, the Islamic Republic here.
No, that's why I'm trying to change this.
I'm corrected by my own team, and people think that I don't understand it.
Let's give them credit.
No,
but you know why? Because
but you know why I say it that way? Because it's lost on the American population. I mean, it's so funny. I have to remind myself. I just did some other interviews this morning. I have to correct myself.
No,
it's a very valid point.
It's nothing wrong with you. Media in the West. How did they call Gaddafi?
Yeah.
Dictator of Libya, no?
Yeah.
How do they call Ali Khamenei? Supreme leader.
Right.
So how do they, like Ibrahim Raisi, the butcher of Tehran, being called on media, the president? We don't even have election.
Oh, it's even better than that. The best is, I think I'll give you that and raise you one. Every time there's a presidential election in Iran, in the media. This one's a moderate. This one's a reformist. This one's a hardcore guy. There's a hopeful Trump because Pezeshkian is a reformist in his rhetoric. And I look at the debate and it happens every time in Western media. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's the Ayatollah. There have been 2 Ayatollahs. The question is, will there be a third? That's the question. These guys are irrelevant. But we have this fake debate, because the news media look.
Tell me more about it. No, that was my rage. That was my
I
anger.
agree with you. I see it every election.
Moderate.
At least Ahmadinejad said what they were all thinking. Ahmadinejad was the gift that kept on giving. Because at least Ahmadinejad said what they were all thinking. They would have the smiling sheikh come in, the Rouhani, or now Pezeshkian, trying to say that, what a fake debate. And for whatever reason, in Western press, in Western policy circles, we give the dignity to a Pezeshkian or a Rouhani or Ahmadinejad, a Raisi. Come on. It's all the same.
Yeah. When it comes to women's rights, moderate,
yeah.
And the conservatives, same.
Unless they're, as we talked about earlier, unless they're protesting the United States and Israel after the war, because you did see some women with uncovered hair being allowed to protest only because it was good for the.
It's a good PR.
It was good PR.
We don't call them reformists. We don't call them
no, it's true.
It's a good PR, and that's why I am angry, and I'm asking you with a calm voice, how come American leaders buy this? Like President Obama. So you mentioned about your good relation with Samantha Power. So I remember that in Iran, people were protesting during Green Movement.
It's a huge failure.
Yeah.
Huge failure.
Naming Obama, you either with us or with them, means you either with Iran or Islamic Republic. Why? Because, I'm sure you know that because you have
we were very critical. The Nedaka Sultan and the Green Movement at the time, it was a tragedy.
Yeah. What does Obama mean? Do you know that in Persian? You should learn some Persian. You have a lot of team.
I mean, Vasi, can I have one break? Can I just not? Can I just? I need one break. I have Persian food, Persian my life. Maybe the language is.
Okay, I'm going to tell you. Obama. U means he. Ba means with. Ma means us. He is with us. And people in Iran were like using this, like Obama, you either with us or with the Islamic Republic.
Yeah.
Very clear. You either with Iran or Islamic Republic. And those are the people that got killed. And Obama mentioned about Neda Agha Sultan, which you remembered her name. And I'm very pleased and thank you.
We should never forget her name.
Because people
we should never forget her
bury
name.
their names on their nuclear deal or,
We should never forget her name.
So Obama said the video of her death was the most viewed. Yeah, he was correct. Video in 2009. And so Obama was trying to get a deal from the Islamic Republic right at the right time when people were in the streets. So that's my concern, that how we can get American leaders, again and again, I want to ask this, to be united and have a coherent policy when it comes to Islamic Republic. So I'm sure that you are concerned as well. So tell me about how we can rely on President Trump, because President Trump once tweeted about regime change. It went viral.
I saw it.
Iranians were, I'm not shy to say, Iranians were excited. Whether you want or not, we want to change this regime. Regime change is nothing being imposed on us by foreigners. And you know that very well.
I do.
Regime change being heard, the term regime change, a lot of leaders are allergic to the term regime change, which I always say they have to be allergic to dictators, not changing a barbaric regime, but being heard 2017 uprising, 2019 uprising.
Go back earlier.
Exactly, 2020. Yeah. So how we can trust now President Trump saying regime change, and the day after he says that let's negotiate with the Islamic Republic. One day he say that, no, we cannot talk to this regime, maximum pressure. And the other day he say that he shared a tweet of Shamkhani, who's unfortunately alive now. So, and saying that...
Fortunately or unfortunately, because he's really being quite defensive about why he's alive right now.
I know a lot of people say he's working for the Israelis.
I'm not saying anything. By the way, is he going to be on your podcast next week? Just kidding.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like it. Yeah, a lot of people are suspicious of those commanders.
I'm having him come over. He'll be on your podcast. We'll host him for dinner.
Let's just make it clear for the audience. Yeah. They don't know what we're talking.
We're joking, yeah.
You're the only American you talk with Iranian language. Any commanders, IRGC commanders, they're alive. big red flag.
Right.
People are suspicious that they are working with the Israeli government.
I say, like, you're either a dead-eye urgency commander or an alive one, and the alive ones have problems, and Shamkhani is the poster child for that.
So you're very smart, but I'm trying to get you to criticize President Trump. You change this.
But I'm going to say something that might irritate you and your viewers. I think that the leaders in the region, the Iranian people, and activists, including you, are asking the wrong question. Because the expectation that the United States, look, I support regime change. I don't know why it's so hard to say that. What does that mean? Am I ready to send in American troops, Israeli troops, and take over the country? We lost innocent lives, I'm sure. We'll never know, but I'm sure there were innocents that were lost
of course.
in this recent attack. That's a tragedy. The moment the United States, Israel, or another power comes in and tries to save Iran, save Iran from the Islamic Republic, I have to remember what network I'm on.
Yeah.
Is the moment that we fail, because we can't do that. So let me break some hard truth to my great friend Masih Alinejad, who's a hero. We can help with providing the opportunity, the moment, and the weakening of that regime, but it's ultimately going to be up to the Iranian people. I would submit to you, there have been 2 ayatollahs. The question is there going to be a third? Right now, he's 86, hiding in a spider hole somewhere. No clear successor. Mojtaba, if it's him, it sure looks like a Shah to me. Like he's, the United States has degraded Israel have degraded their leadership, their military, their proxies, the nuclear program, done everything we can. I wonder when people say, help us do more. Sure, should we provide communications, Starlinks? Should we
don't get me wrong.
Statements to the Iranian people? Absolutely.
Mark, you said that, and I have to correct you, because you said I want to say directly to Masih Alinejad about saving the Iranian people from Islamic Republic. I never asked
I know you don't.
the U.S. government to save Iranians. I want them to stop saving the Islamic Republic.
I agree with you.
And that's why I mentioned...
We always snatch victory from the clutches of defeat. We snatch defeat from the clutches of victory all the time, right? I agree with that.
Yeah, but I get you.
But that's a negotiation conundrum. That's the conundrum of wanting to negotiate, right? Every president has had the dream, including President Trump, that somehow they're going to go in and convince the Ayatollah and ride into Tehran on a white charger and broker the great peace. And who doesn't want that? In the defense of President Trump, President Obama, President Clinton, President Bush, that's a wonderful Western belief of trying to resolve the very difficult regime. What they don't understand is the moment that the regime truly, if they could, makes a deal and recognizes Israel, works with the United States, is the day that the regime falls. And they only care about preservation.
Ambassador.
Yes.
When I say ambassador, be ready. I'm going to criticize
that means
you.
I'm getting a tough question. Where's Kambiz? Help.
When you say that Iranians are asking wrong question when they say, why you say regime change, President Trump, and then you change your mind the other day. So we are asking wrong question?
No, I think we're asking the expectation. It's the expectation. Every president...
Let's make it clear. Iranians never ask the US president or the Israeli to bring regime change for us. But this is happening right now.
I agree.
They attacked the nuclear sites. They got, rid of all the top IRGC commanders, not the political leaders. So which is clear that if they wanted to kill Pezeshkian,
the state security apparatus is still there.
Easy. So this is the wrong signal being sent to the opposition, to Iranians. Why don't you use the word wrong when it comes to Israeli government? Bibi made a video talking about regime change. Some of the ministers in Israel talking about regime change. President Trump himself tweeting about regime change.
I support regime change, of course.
Me too. Iranians want regime change, but you say that Iranians are asking wrong question. There is nothing wrong with the Israeli government.
The question is what can we do? I mean, look, one of the issues, we're in a very pregnant moment here in the timing and the post-attacks. One of the criticisms was that Israel and the United States did not strike state security apparatus, the Basiji and the like, in the neighborhoods of Tehran. And we also talked about that there were innocents that were killed there. There was no way, because the way the Iranian regime, the Islamic Republic, had placed these state security apparatuses in residential neighborhoods. The Israelis were talking about moving vast neighborhoods, like millions of people to leave. And President Trump, where were they going to go? People, how are they going to leave?
Yeah. Evacuating Tehran.
How is it going to happen, right? But that was an effort to show that we weren't trying to hurt the Iranian people. And there is no way. War is a horrible, messy business. And you already saw some of the pushback because innocents did, I'm sure, die in these attacks, all in the name of fighting the regime.
I have family and friends there.
Yeah, me too, of course.
Political prisoners were worried about the lives of, the family members were absolutely worried.
Right. But was it great? What happened?
It was phenomenal to see the head of IRGC, Hossein Salami, was gone. It was a blessing for the Middle East to see that the leaders of Hamas were gone. The leader of Hezbollah were gone. The leaders of IRGC were gone. Of course, my heart goes to innocent people in Iran,
but how do
in Israel,
how do you square that?
Palestine,
Masi, how do you square that?
Exactly.
Right.
The roots is Islamic Republic. So my question again, why when people are in the streets calling the leaders not to change the regime, because people managed to shake this regime in 2020.
Going back earlier than that even, yeah.
So 2022. Why still Revolutionary Guards, this is, I know I'm talking now about something that you've done an amazing job. Why Europeans hesitate to designate Revolutionary Guards as a terrorist organization?
No, it's a very good question. I think that there's a difference between on the maximum pressure side and the economic sanctions between the United States and Europe. Look, when we started United Against Nuclear Iran many years ago, the first companies that we targeted were Americans. We had something called the foreign subsidiary loophole. American companies were doing business there. Those were the ones we started with, because when I went to Europe or Asia, I didn't want to be accused of not going after Americans first and saying, stop doing business there. But Masi, there are longstanding trade relationships between Germany, Italy, and Iran. And those are hard to break, because when you go to a German mid-tier company and they've been trading there for many years, how many Iranians are in Germany? Yeah. You know that. And those bonds are very good. But we've done a pretty good job.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
You really broke the taboo of hey, sanction these terrorists. Hey, name terrorists as who they are. You did an amazing job. But the only thing that I have problem with it, like putting the blame on victims and saying that because regime change is something that you should, lead this within the country.
We had, I have a lot of Persians in my life that I love. I love the Persian people. I have an incredible affinity towards it. And it's a hard truth when I look at maybe the greatest activist ever in this space. And I say to you, there are limits as to, I don't want to say this. I never wanted a limit in any way. I supported the military strikes. I supported maximum pressure. I supported the assassination of Soleimani.
The moment when a lot of opposition figures hesitate even to celebrate the death of Qasem Soleimani, you did that. I remember that.
He was planning the killing of Americans and others, and he was a brutal figure. So, but at the end of the day, I don't want to pivot to another country, but look at Lebanon, look at Hezbollah. So many of my Lebanese friends have complained to me, can't we do more to remove Hezbollah? Well, Hezbollah is decimated right now, right? Because they can't have a cell phone, a beeper, or a walkie-talkie because they're afraid it's going to blow up and kill them, right? But Hezbollah still has a lingering presence in Lebanon, right? Iran is a country of 90 million, 92 million people, something like that. Vast tapestry of different peoples, complicated interactions between those people, that's been oppressed by a small, now puritanical Mahdi-driven regime. And at some point, that is not going to work. It could be like Assad, and it happens very quickly. But I'll tell you what, We're about to go into a period of transition one way or the other. It's weak. The Real is devastated. Their military is devastated. Their proxies are devastated. And that Ayatollah is hiding in a bunker right now as we speak somewhere. And he's not even going to the Imam Hussein celebrations right now, at least as of right now.
Yeah,
that's a big indication.
He's big
right,
humiliation.
and as you know, that celebration is always about willing to die for your cause, effectively.
And then he's not willing to die for his cause. He's willing to put the lives of Iranians in danger.
Right.
That's my
first
question.
time he hasn't been at that celebration. Now it's happening right now.
First time.
I think it's the third day today. So it's possible he makes an appearance because we've all been critical of it, but he hasn't been there. It was the first time not at the opening ceremony.
How do you see future? You think that it's going to be a complete surrender? You know the Ayatollahs. So
Yeah, I mean, you never can predict.
This, yeah.
I think that, to use the forest fire analogy, the forest is dry, there are dry leaves, and there's lightning in the sky. And you never know where the spark of revolution and regime falling is coming. But I will tell you, the forest is really dry right now. It's dry, and we could have a fire that could lead to that revolution. We know there's going to be a transition. There have only been 2 Ayatollahs. You know that.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a third? And we know that the Ayatollahs at one time that were much, not universally popular, we don't want to say that, but much more popular than they are now. You hear death to America, death to Israel, and death to the Ayatollah, death to the regime right now in the streets of Tehran. You're the movement that you've had a great role in inspiring and driving. They don't like this Ayatollah.
Compulsory, my campaign
Right?
against compulsory
Right. I got to say it again because I say it every time. Wait, I want to look into the camera, that camera right there. So when Masi and I have known each other a long time, she approached me how many years ago? Like
10 years ago when I
more
launched
than
my
that.
campaign.
Because I got this campaign about the compulsory hijab, and I looked at her. I did this. I was like, what is she talking about? I didn't get it. I was wrong, and Masi was right. And because I was a gringo. I looked at it. I'm still a gringo at the end of the day.
You're phenomenal.
And I looked at it, but what I saw is when it took off, I was like, wow. It really, that oppression, just like the death to America, death to Israel, if they take it away, you take away the foundation of that regime. And I didn't get that. And I say it all the time. I'm saying it into that camera.
That's
because
very
it's
nice
important.
of you. That's
because
very
we have to
brave of
recognize
you.
it. Right.
But let's
it's
be
true.
very clear. You say that, and I appreciate that. Millions of Iranians appreciate you recognizing the power of women, shaking one of the most.
But I didn't get it. Look, I'm a reasonably
I used to say
smart guy
that
on
this
this
is the Berlin
stuff.
moment.
Right.
Berlin
but
Wall
Masi,
moment.
think about it. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm ostensibly an expert. I didn't get it totally. Right. And you're expecting, a lot of your questions today, we're expecting Americans and Westerners and Europeans. And we started the conversation with the very, somewhat amusing, but tragic that I refer to Iran or the Islamic Republic, depending on the outlet that I'm on, right?
I have to give credit to Marco Rubio. He always say
He
that.
does it. He does it.
He always
Right.
say that Islamic Republic is different. And I like, this should be the narrative of all.
To my team, they always credit do it, and I see it, and it's not like I don't know. But you're seeing an American and Western population that don't have that same thing. Look, I was ostensibly an expert. I didn't get your hijab
But
point.
you did an amazing job by showing the rest of the world who are sometimes confused about Iran and Islamic Republic by campaigning. I mean, I have to give you and your team credit. You know how to visualize the brutality of the Islamic Republic to make people
not hard.
see it. It's phenomenal. The way that actually you bought one of the Islamic Republic's drone, Shahed, taking it everywhere.
I was going to
UN?
present it to you on the podcast, but I couldn't get it through the door. It's really quite big. I thought
should have.
if anybody could give you a gift,
should have.
bringing you an Iranian Shahed 136,
I need this
that
gift.
would have been a nice gift.
You have to
And
give
I'm
it to
working on
me.
that.
I will take it on
Right,
my shoulder and I go everywhere and I talk with my passion.
Well, it's owned by the
This-
Iranian people. I mean, my grandmother's rolling over in her grave that I own a Iranian Shahed 136 right now.
My audience maybe have no idea what we're talking. Mark Wallace and his amazing team, they brought one of the Islamic Republic drones being sold to Putin, to kill innocent Ukrainians. Oh my God, Mark, that was an amazing moment for me when I heard that you did this to show the American media, the American policymakers, left, liberal, right, doesn't matter. This is the Islamic Republic. Killing, sending drones, violence, it's in the DNA of this regime. See this. That was the unique moment. Again, an American knows how to visualize the brutality of the Islamic Republic.
We called it
Tell
the
me
true
about
face of
it.
the
Was it-
Ayatollah. Well, look, we did it. First of all credit goes to Zelensky's team, President Zelensky, and our great friends in Poland. We managed to. There are a few intact Shahed 136s, and that's the Iranian weapon system. It is the weapon of mass destruction, terror weapon of mass destruction of the day. It's quite big. It's 12 foot by 8 foot, and for those of you that are watching that are historians, it's like the V1 buzz bomb that the Nazis used over the UK. And everyone remembers and sees the videos of the V1s coming in indiscriminately. This Shahed has been used all over the world, from the Bab al-Mandab to Israel to Syria. It's killed Americans, it's killed Ukrainians, it's killed Iranians, it's killed so many people. I think by our statistic, it's killed or injured the citizens of over 88 countries.
An Iranian government, they denied that. So
Right, and we call it the true face. The Iranian government sent 6,000 of these drones to Putin's Russia, and then Putin started manufacturing their own version of it based upon the Iranian technology called the Garan 2. It's the same drone. But that weapon system was the face of the Iranian regime. So when you would have the smiling Rouhani or the Ayatollah,
smiling Javad Zarif.
Javad Zarif, who is truly the von Ribbentrop of this regime, the real face of that Ayatollah was that weapon system, this black, sinister-looking Delta Batwing fighter drone coming in from all different directions, indiscriminately, falling on people of all different types and races and cultures and killing them. And what it's done in Ukraine is terrible. And it was very unique to actually have one. It was brought down under interesting circumstances. We exfiltrated it from Ukraine. The Poles put it after we deactivated it. It was put on a Polish C-130 flown to Andrews Air Force Base, and they gave it to me, and we did events with it in Washington and Capitol Hill with Speaker Johnson and various other elected officials. And even now in Iran, people talk about ballistic missiles, Masi, but that Shahed 136 costs $80,000 to $120,000 each. A Patriot missile costs millions, right? So when they send in dozens of those Shahed 136s, you have to have a fighter plane chase it and shoot it down, and it's distracting our ability to shoot down those ballistic missiles. And that's really, the Iranian regime is famous for talking about their peace-loving ways and they don't attack, but
more important than this, Mark, they are actually really good at misleading the rest of the world, saying that this is only sanction hurting Iranian people. So while the people of Iran were suffering from sanction, these drones were sent to kill.
I have to give some credit to the regime. I never thought I would do that, particularly in the Masih Alinejad podcast. But so we acquired this drone. It's the only one in private hands in the world, only one intact. First time it's been seen. It's at the Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. right now. And we put this out, and the regime, it's all over their press, and they put out a statement. They said, taking credit, bragging about what an effective defensive weapon system is, because they used it as a mechanism to sell more of them to their allies. They used it as an advertisement.
No way.
So I was like, that
They
was
know
pretty
it.
clever. But they put it we only sell it for defensive purposes. Right.
You see,
But they put it out as an advertisement. I apparently did advertising for the regime. I thought that was fairly clever.
You're good at giving credit to the Islamic Republic because
Because
they
they're
know,
bastards. They
because
did it
they
for
know
bastard
how
reasons,
to use
yeah.
AI-generated videos. We are
They use it as a sales promotion to all of their client states and their allied states as a mechanism to sell their drone.
They're really using this tactic, spreading misinformation, using AI technology as a tool to spread their lies, their oppression. So I think that you've experienced that as well, how they use technology to divide their own opposition. This is Putin's tactic as well. This is the tactic of all dictators. They know how to divide their oppositions.
And projecting power.
Exactly. And it's not just Ali Khamenei and his gang of killers. Putin dictatorship, Maduro, China, they're really good at using AI technology to, create fight and hatred among their own opponents, their own oppositions. Or like a lot of people are suspicious. Shall I work with this opposition group? Shall I work? You've experienced that as well. So this is something that's been going for 40 years that now the technology empowering the regime. Like, for instance, they banned 90 million people from using social media, but the same dictators are on social media. You can see them.
Why? Why are they banned? Why is the Ayatollah have a
because the U.S. technology, the tech companies
they should be banned.
are giving them
Right.
freedom of speech.
Right.
This is what Elon
They
Musk
should be
said.
banned. That's just very clear. They should be banned. We raised that with Twitter. They should be banned. But look, they like pictures and trying to convince people that they're powerful. They've been revealed as weak and vulnerable by these recent attacks, for sure. But look, as you know, we track oil tanker smuggling. We track every single vessel in and out of it. We've been involved in seizures. We seized an infamous vessel called the Suez Raja at one point. I was on that vessel. I met the crew. We seized it, and that oil was sold for the victims of terror. I had to climb up the side of a oil tanker. That was always an adventure for a man of my age at this point. And then the Iranians made a big production about helicopters coming in when it was back outside in the Gulf of Oman. They sent in helicopters, men with commandos, held it at gunpoint because they wanted to look like they were strong, right? And they took it out on that crew. And that was all fake. They don't have a real defense. They were trying to abuse those that they can abuse, and that's what they do. Look, one of the things that we announced recently, President Trump's, one of his affiliated political enterprises is called the Conservative Political Action Conference. It's run by my friends Matt and Mercy Schlapp. And we announced CPAC for Iranians in Exile with United Against Nuclear Iran, where we were hoping to bring together under one roof the very disparate tapestry of the Iranian diaspora, not to try to unify it. We have to be realistic, but for people to come in and talk and to interact with top administration officials about Iran. You wanted a consistency of American policy, a challenge in a democracy that fluctuates. But we agree with that. We've been trying to do this for a long time. And so what we created some basic principles. You're against the regime, that you're going to be respectful to others. You're not going to have Islamist ideology, that you're going to come right, and that you're going to come in and be respectful and begin the process of interacting. I'll say it on air. Maybe we're so far along because we've had these strikes. I wish we could have a respectful, if not argumentative, parliament in waiting. That I don't think we're there yet. The Iranian people don't want that. The diaspora isn't ready to do that yet.
I know. I always said to the opposition figures in Iran that we cannot go to G7 countries, ask 7 nations, 7 governments, 7 countries to be united for Iran, for the people of Iran, to be united to designate the Revolutionary Guards as a terrorist organization. We cannot ask 7 countries to be united for our cause, but 7 political figures in Iran cannot sit together and actually have one demand.
Just sit together.
Just sit together. So how hopeful you are that, because as we started from the beginning, that democracies are not as united as dictators. You see that the growing autocracy Inc. is a real threat. The statistics shows that more than 70% of global population now living under authoritarian regimes. And the way that they're helping, providing technology, like training military, like Iranian regime and Venezuelan regime, no common culture, no, absolutely different. But now 20 years agreement between these 2 countries, 2 dictators, training military in Bolivia, in Africa, in Venezuela, Putin and Khamenei, China, they're all helping and working together. So basically, through our conversation, we found out that Republican Democrats are not as united as dictators. Europeans and Americans are not as united as dictators. The opposition, Iranian oppositions, are not as united as dictators.
Not united at all.
Okay, you're always good at putting the blame on victims.
No, I'm not putting the blame on victim, but I do want to say something that maybe irritates people. I think that in your Exhibit A, because you've been on the receiving end of it, any time that in the Iranian diaspora that the Iranians are critical of anybody, of other people striving for a free Iran, they're doing the regime's bidding. And I say that to people of all political persuasions in the diaspora. Stop criticizing and attacking and trying to harm others that want a free Iran, and focus on the regime. There might be different views, different nationality, different ethnic groups, whatever. We have to stop doing the work of the regime. You've been on the receiving end of more attacks that have been regime sponsored, not only by assassins at your front door, but on the cyber side. And regrettably, we have to have a conversation, an honest conversation amongst the diaspora groups that we have to stop shooting at each other.
I get that. I mean, I see that how some of the opposition groups denying the assassination plots on my life, trying to achieve what? I don't know. But I don't think this is the biggest, because when it comes
in terms of having everyone sit together, I agree with that.
Inside Iran, when it comes to end this regime, Iranians are united when they take to the streets. You see that how the unified message is, we want to end this clerical regime. So Iranians, when it comes to have a secular democracy, they're all united.
When I missed mandatory hijab point, and then I recognized it, and I said it was underpinning, I think I stumbled upon something in 2006 or whatever, when I was putting together all the reasons, and we said united against nuclear Iran. I think that the nuclear program is a mandatory hijab of the regime.
Yes. I love that. Yeah.
It was and I think that when you take that away, the rationale for the existence of the regime
will be
almost as dramatically as the mandatory hijab that they were forcing you to cover their hair. That's their protective thing. And we've shattered the foundations of this regime. And I didn't realize it. And it's taken me years to see this. And I learned it from you because of the mandatory hijab. But that's a pillar of the regime.
That's the pillar of the regime.
Another pillar.
Will bring this pillar down as well.
I think that's
because
right.
You barely see women walking with compulsory veiling in Tehran. You see more women in hijab in London, in Stockholm, in Berlin. But women of Iran practicing their civil disobedience. I think that the leaders of democracies should learn from women of Iran.
Let me ask you a question.
Appeasement.
What's the rationale of the regime right now?
You told me.
I don't think there is one.
Nothing. Khamenei is dead because he took...
I mean, the real question is that I think they could have killed him, but they chose. I mean, I could see the conversation taking place in certain intelligence circles that I've been privileged to be around. Is he better off dead or better off alive?
Better off watching the entire ideology
as he decays,
collapsing.
right in his spider hole somewhere. Okay. But you have the ideology failing, the revolutionary axis of all the proxies. You have the economy in tatters, the vaunted military. I mean, we flew and they didn't even shoot an anti-aircraft gun at them. The nuclear program, President Trump says obliterated, certainly set back a number of years. Right?
Control of their airspace.
The people, they don't like them. What's the rationale right now?
I think Khamenei is dead, but we need the last move to bury him.
No, we need the great Iranian people. And then look, the Iranian people have proven to be some of the bravest people. Let's be serious. You do it, but it takes a lot to run into the face of bullets. The Iranian people have been brave, but let's not underestimate that that's hard when those security services, but at some point the Basiji in the street is going to say, as I oppress this woman, this family, he's going to look over his shoulder and say, who's behind me? And right now, I don't think there's a lot behind him.
How do you see the future of, in regard of this situation, the nuclear sites being turned to dust right now? How do you see the future? You really think that they're going to go back to negotiation table with America, peace, or they're going to come back to enrichment again? I don't know. How do you see this?
Well, I'm going to come back to 2 points.
Yes.
First, I'm going to come back to the compulsory hijab point because I think you were really right about that. I've said that. I think that the fact that there are a couple elements of the regime, and the mandatory hijab was one of them, death to America and death to Israel.
3 pillars.
Three pillars.
You're right.
I think there's a fourth. I think the fourth is their desire to have a nuclear program and on the cusp of that. And by taking that away from them, it's equivalent to degrading the mandatory hijab, or if they recognize Israel, which we all want them to do. The moment we successfully rip these elements from the regime, the foundation of that regime falls. And I didn't necessarily understand the mandatory hijab until I learned from you. I think that what we've seen is that this nuclear program has become an essential element to what they call their revolutionary existence. And without it, it falls. And so we've done, with our maximum pressure militarily, through the mandatory hijab. We've taken those pillars, the devaluation of the rial, the maximum pressure, the support of the Iranian people that hasn't been good enough. Hasn't been good enough. We've done all those things. The foundation of the regime is shaken. The Ayatollah is 86 years old. There either will be a third Ayatollah or there won't. Let's hope right now that all the elements are there, that regime is shaken, that we've done enough, and we must do more to support the Iranian people to topple this brutal regime.
Thank you so much, Mark. I really want you to know that when it comes to end this war, that's the demand of the people of Iran. They don't say end this war without saying end the Islamic Republic, end the nuclear enrichment, end compulsory veiling, end Sharia laws. It means that the youth, women, ordinary people in Iran,
they want the same things as everybody else.
Like
as every
teenagers
American.
are like teenagers everywhere.
Everywhere.
So my dream is to invite you to Iran very soon, because you've done an amazing job to break a lot of red lines in the West and name the Islamic Republic as they are, terrorists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Masih. It's wonderful.
Kissing is forbidden.
I know.
We're breaking a lot of laws.
So is your hair. I mean, I'd like to see that hair. But anyway, we've identified that mandatory hijab, nuclear program, debt to Israel, oppression of the people. These are all the elements.
I always said to media that the Islamic Republic has 3 pillars to survive: compulsory veiling, which is that I always said that the Berlin Wall of the Islamic Republic. When we tear this wall down, the Islamic Republic won't exist. Death to America. Another Berlin Wall, death to Israel.
But I think it's probably the nuclear program too.
That's why
you know what? Think about they hold on to it, because this has been their ultimate insurance policy, their ultimate expression of power. And how many billions and billions of dollars have they wasted on it, on their proxies, and they have nothing to show for it?
Who said that we have only 10 minutes? We can talk for
hours. Thank you so much, Masih. It's great to be on your show.
Thank you so much. Right. Women, life, freedom.
Women, life, freedom.
That was an amazing conversation. I loved it.